when I'd had a pendulum for a long time too. I think I've told this story before, where someone had been on a business trip and she was so excited to come back, and she said, and this pendulum says that I was to bring it to you. And I'm going like, ugh, okay, thanks very much. Love it. Put it to the side because no way. I mean, I'd held it, nothing happened. Said, yeah, it's not mine. And so it was only when I went to New York and to do an interview with Nancy Johnson, who did crystal chakra balancing in Europe and in New York, right? And so she just returned from New York. From Europe. She was totally booked. She had said, "Hey, Sharon's coming in, so don't book me. I'm going to show her New York." They had totally booked her, and she said, "Let me know what you want to see, and then I'll open up some space." And I didn't care about, I don't know, I didn't care about New York. I was there to visit with her. So for 10 days, I was in her studio watching her until she finally said, "Hey, wait a minute, get up here at the table." And there was something about her energy, I'm sure a contract there, that of course she used a pendulum for the work, and that made it this. They said, "Oh, this is like that reframe you talk about, Vita." And that's where I learned about how the chakra points need all the vibrations. So what we would do is we would lock a clear quartz crystal into the chakra and let it be there for long enough for the chakra. It's like speaking to the crystal, and because the crystal is a receiver, the crystal would pick up the colors that the chakra was calling for. You see, this is what I need, red and yellow and maybe a little blue. And, so the crystal, we would take the crystal off, and then we'd use the pendulum to find out what the crystal needed. So, okay, heart crystal is needing green, red, and yellow. Okay. So then we would go to the chakra with our hand energies. Now, she was doing this, I was watching. I learned this afterwards. And she would then tune into a vibration yellow and let that energy yellow flow through her like an empty hose, like turning on the water, but it's yellow. And then she'd shift to green, and then she'd shift to blue, whatever the colors were. And then she'd seal the chakras, and the chakras would have all that it needed in that moment, right? And so for me, when I started doing the work, what I found that is identifying a fruit, okay, I could hold a red apple or a purple plum or whatever. I used a fruit to help me focus in my mind on the color. And then when it felt like, okay, that's enough, then I would get the next color, the next color. I was introduced, had been doing that maybe a year, just starting into getting some more information from the healers that became TAG, when a fellow that I met says, "You need to read the book called The Infinite Mind." And it was a book by Dr. Valerie Hudson. She was a PhD, and they had been doing research on vibrations. And so her research, and I think it's out of print, but if you can get it, it's a great book, The Infinite Mind. And I have a handout by Dr. Valerie Hunt. And what they were doing, and this would have been in the early 1990s. So the mechanisms, the machines, are not at all as sensitive as they are now. Mathematics is what makes the energy, makes us able to have more sensitive systems that measure energy a little bit uh, higher, higher frequencies. But they were measuring energies with machines. Now they wanted to see how energy related between hands-on healers and their clients. Okay. So this is just one of the stories in the book. So what they did is they hooked up the machines like a Bluetooth, but not really. It probably was wired at the time, to the hands of the healers, and then to the body of the client on the table. And I don't know. They didn't say how they did it. They just did it. And and they would make note of, when, because we can, you can scan a body with your hands. My hands don't do that. I think that's definitely still part of that, the skill set I've turned off and haven't really worried about turning it on until maybe the last couple of weeks. I'm working on that. But it's like the pendulum. At first, the pendulum, it didn't work because I had turned off that gift. So hands-on healers then can feel with their hands the different points of the body. So they're scanning the body, and they're watching the scanning of the body, and then when they find a point, I mean, nobody knows why they find that point. Then there's a point, and the healer holds that point and does the same thing for the body that we did for the chakras. Just whatever vibration seems to need to come through. And a lot of the healers that had in the research study would get it also as a color. And they would hold a point until okay, that one, and you go to another point, okay, and then go to another point. Very much like we did with the crystal chakras, doing with the chakra systems. And so when they were talking to the healers afterward and looking at what happened with the machines, what they noticed is the disruptive energy, that they would find a disruptive point. It was a chaotic energy point. And then the healer would say, yes, and I felt to bring in yellow, just intuitively. So I just held the point, let yellow come in. And what the machines showed is that as soon as the yellow, or the vibrations coming from the hands and the vibrations in the body, synced, so that the hands-on healers held a steady frequency, in this case we'll say yellow, that caused the body that was in chaos to calm down and align to the yellow. And when there was that sync, you could see the sync in the machinery, and that's when the healer would then move to another place. Now, the healer didn't know there was a sync measured, but they felt a completion, and they just trusted that, okay, complete, and then they'd move somewhere else. And it was very consistent that the healer held a steady vibration, and they just were drawn to a place that was chaotic, and they just held the point, like I hold a point when my planes fly, and then the chaotic aligned to the whole, that vibration of stability. And when that was done, then that part of the body was good, and we moved to the next part. And she said that what we realized, I'm just reading a quote, we realized that a transaction between the two fields was essential to hasten healing. And we observed that before the brain waves were involved or activated, and before stimulus from that place altered, whether it was heart rate or breathing or blood pressure, the field first responded to the hands-on healer. So this led us, she writes, to postulate that a person's primary response is in his world takes place first in the auric field. What she called auric fields are the unseen, not in the sensory nerves and not in the brain. So this is what I've said about healing. We've been calling these processes that impact the unseen, we've been calling them complementary. They used to be called what? Alternative. They're not alternative either, and they're not complementary. They are primary. They set the outcome. You set the outcome, and then this aligns, and then the brain aligns, the nervous system aligns. This is first. You hold the outcome, and the others become complementary to what you are holding as the outcome. So I'll include that, some quotes from Valerie Hunt in your work today. So one of the important things to do is then to how do you hold a focus? What is, in the Hermetic tradition, which is the mystery schools tradition with Hermes Trismegistus, one fellow, Franz Barden, who was alive in Germany during the Holocaust, whole story about him, he realized, and he knew how to hold outcome. He knew he wasn't a magic person. He was a magician in his tradition of the Hermetic tradition. So he could hold, and the energy then would become. And he realized during the things that were happening in Germany at the time that people needed to understand these laws, because they were being manipulated using the laws. They were being manipulated. And so he determined that he was going to write what he remembered and knew from that Hermetic tradition and make it available, which usually it was not. Mystery schools in the Egypt in the distant past did not invite everyone in, only the selected few. So he wanted to make it visible and available for everyone. And so he began by writing a book that's called Initiation into Hermetics. And the very first exercises are what we're going to do right now. They're at the first. A lot of people who will we kind of think that we are master levels. Well, we are all beginners, truly. So this is coming from Franz Barden's book called Initiation into Hermetics. And again, that will be in the handout too. So we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. And it's what you're going to do. You're going to sit for 1 minute. We're going to do maybe 2 or 3 different exercises. You're going to sit for 1 minute. And you're just going to observe your thought. And if a thought comes in, you just move it aside. You don't try to push it back to anybody. Just move it aside just to try to be neutral. Move it aside. Continue. Move it aside. Continue. Some of you, this is going to be easy, and some of us, it's just a good reminder. And then when I say, okay, time's up, then you're just going to take a moment and write down the thoughts that you observed. And then we're going to do it again for 2 minutes. So everyone ready? And you're just going to quiet your mind and observe what comes in, move it aside. Anything else comes in, just move it aside. So you're on. Okay, stop. Take just a second or two, make any notes. Just the thought, not a response to it, just the thought. Okay, I want you to stop. And now I'm going to have you do it again. Just let your mind be, let it be still. Notice a thought when it, if and when one comes in, just move it to the side and sit for another minute. Stop. Just note any thought. And that's one of the basic exercises. And he recommended you get up to doing that so you can hold that kind of space for up to 10 minutes. That's 1 minute. What we're going to do now for the next practice is to ask and just get a sense of what color is needed in your space. Just get a sense of what color is needed in your space. Nothing right or wrong here. And this time, you're going to hold focus on the color, letting it move into your space. So you're going to stay connected to that thought, to that color for a minute. Okay, go. Okay, now stop. Is that easy, hard? What was that like for you? And the tag system presupposes Earth mission, the power of the responsibility and assignment given to soul and female bodies to identify, discern, and with that power of personal choice, eliminate outsiders from all space, in order that we can then be in that space of sovereignty in which all that we know about love and healing can be effective permanently to address the crippling and the injury and the trauma that we've gone through, to eliminate that and bring every individual back to like my website says, restore to your soul, restore to your soul harmonic. That's the plan in which the tag system rests. And it doesn't say how you are to do it, but it says the plan exists to get us back to our harmonic, our connection to not just source, but our divine family and source, by removing outsiders, using our gifts to heal, create, in order to live that agenda, an aspect of good. And if that's a plan, if that's what you've felt, yeah, I've been doing that, yes, I want to be involved, you're in the right place. That's what this is about. So the question then, and we're just going to open about 5 minutes, is to give you a space where you can just, instead of focusing on a color, asking what color, focusing on the color, just get a sense. And the question is, am I connected to this plan? Am I connected to this plan? And if so, who is my connection point? Because we usually have a connection point. It might be an ascended master. It might be someone who you've worked with before that is a connection point to that plan. So am I connected to the plan? And if you're not, and you want to be, say, then make the connection and hold it until you go like, done. And then if you have time, who will be my connection point, my touch point to the plan? And we're just going to do that for about 5 minutes just before we close. Am I connected? If you're not connected, get me connected until you go like, clink, you are. Who is my touch point? And we'll be back in about 5. Okay, got about 10 seconds. And as you come back, let's just take maybe a minute. What was your experience sharing that into the group? So B, you want to start? What was your experience?
Okay, so I got a yes, I'm connected to the plan, and then it was Michael, which I took to be Archangel Michael. Sarah agrees. And it reminded me of the first time I saw light, just pure light. It was when I did my first Reiki initiation with Kumo. I'm not sure I've seen it since. I think I was 19 or 20 at the time. But I've always, when I started learning about Archangel Michael, that's the image I got, was just that pure light that went through me. And I've had visions of almost being like transported to chambers of light. It's like my body gets worked on and then I come back. So that happened. And then the message that I got was that I'm supposed to help others awaken to their mission. You're silent.
You want to pass it?
Yes, Christina.
Thank you, Vita. My experience was that I am used to focus because of my work to read the energy. So I just got little words. I received little words for each of you. So I'm going to share that. Vita, for you, I was shown Tara and a calcite. And, you know, spirit works in codes, and so you have to figure out. Sharon, for you, I was shown a white buffalo and a North American Indian chief with the feathers. Emma, an emerald lake, but deep at the green, this emerald green, clear, deep lake. And Alexandra, for you, I was shown also water, but turquoise water, a clear turquoise water, and I had a feeling of Caribbean. So, yeah. Emma, I pass on to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Whew, green is my thing, right, Sharon? We have landscapers working outside. We had a beautiful rhododendron bush that was entirely covered in grape leaves. And the grape leaves were entwined into the screen of my window. They're all gone, but this is what was left for me inside my windowsill. So this was a gift. I know. The answer to, is, am I connected to this plan? Yes, absolutely. There are, there's a really cranky old woman who I work with, who is sort of my guide in terms of smokes a pipe, and usually I find her sort of in caves. She's sort of the grounding energy of the team for me to work with, but I don't see yet who is the other side of that, because Sadie got very agitated and wanted to go OUT. And so I will continue that. Thank you. And Alexandra.
Alexandra, are you ready? Are you able to unmute and share your experience? And she does want us to do closed love
Hello.
for King Kong.
As Sharon was giving the assignment, I had this tremendous static on my phone line. So I had no idea what she said. There is a message there somewhere. So I was just quiet, and one thing I got clarity about is that everybody and everything, and even my cats in my environment, are manifesting messages for me. And I realized with my King Khaki, he's a senior, I'm a senior. I pee all the time, he pees all the time. I eat all the time, he eats all the time. And I realized that part of my process is that healing myself and healing Khaki. And that if I can do those two things, then I can use this power elsewhere. I also got the message that healing Khaki may be letting him go to the next dimension.
Mhm, mhm.
So, King Khaki.
Thank you, Alexandra. That's always a good point.
The
too.
best, hey, the best boy in the world.
Sure, I'm sure. Truly, some of the healing that we'll be doing in the world is eliminating the core contracts that people have taken on, our family members have taken on to show us the negative. When we eliminate the contract, because we know it's there, they don't have to keep living in it. We can be proactive, so we can release some of those contracts, and there will be some, like a dear friend of mine, who will decide, okay, now I'm ready to leave the planet. I don't really care about staying longer, and they'll leave the planet because they've done what they came to do. So then the handout will include a few more exercises, through four different ones, but that, how do you hold focus, and how do you be clear, and who's your touch point, and is there something that your team wants you to do maybe regularly to stay connected? So those will be on the handouts as assignments, as well as Alexandra sent me a link. Emma sent me a link. That doesn't surprise me. Emma sent me a link to Valerie's book, so I'll have that on the handout also, even though you might get it in chat. So Christina, yeah.
And Emma, we were I just want to say something to Alexandra that came up when you spoke about numerology. So are you interested in Shakespeare, Alexandra? And if yes, I suggest you check out Alan Green, Bard Code. Bard Code, Alan Green. And I don't understand, but he weaves Shakespeare and numbers and geometry and messages and prophecy and everything together. So that might be interesting.
That I keep you busy, Alexandra. Yeah, so much. There.
Thank you.
Behind, what's behind.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, very good.
Hello?
Yes, yep. You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, loves.
May I ask a quick question?
Yes.
You spoke earlier a little bit about this work activating something having to do with our mother line connections. Did you say that?
Yeah, well, definitely.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, I mean, as a female in a female bodysuit, you're going to step into mass consciousness around female experiences. So it definitely is going to require healing maternal woundedness, right?
Yeah.
And so there's things that we'll do in this class, especially the separation of gifts and then the bringing of gifts back together. That requires conscious choice, but also there's some healing that will make it easier to weave our gifts back together with one another. Okay.
Yeah. but you know that my brother-in-law is passing.
Yes.
And my mother has become entangled in that.
Wow.
And so I am witnessing her being drawn into that kind of energy. So yeah, I've been working around that.
Yeah, and really, the things, the thing, basic personal first thing to do is when you see it is you deep six it,
Yes,
put in a guardian circle and turn it over to PTOs, and then you can, with that as a foundational beginning place, anything else you're felt to do, any tugs within you, that definitely bring yourself to it. That's interesting, isn't it?
it really is. It took me a while to figure out what was
you were doing.
happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could feel that tangle.
Interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And so until we meet again next Monday in this class, see what you discover, who you discover, what you're told, and we'll keep working. Lots of love. Bye everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Hi, thank you.